All right, Penny, what are you doing? You gonna help me today or not? Huh? One up here? Go ahead. Okay. Yeah. It's always great when you help me with these videos. Uh-huh. Okay, you ready? You wanna say it with me? Well, hello again, all you high thinkers and folks that I hope are thinking in general. And as you can see, Penny's back here again doing her thing. And today's video, I was going to talk about a line from Will Durant's book again. It's, to me, fabulous book, The Story of Philosophy. Great book. And on page 5, there's a line that says, "Where there are 1,000 faiths, we are apt to become skeptical of them all." And if you'll recall in my other videos, if I could talk today, I was talking about the other parts in this book where Plato is talking about having one God and that being associated with the ruler of a kingdom, country, cult, whatever. Really, it comes down to cult kind of when you think about it, when you look at the big picture. But we'll get into that more later. So this is going the other way as far as instead of just having one God and one religion that's ruling everybody, and we can look back in history and see how awful those go, unless you have a benevolent leader. It seems like Constantine the Great actually was good about it in assimilating the other religions at the time and pagans and all that other kind of stuff by moving some of the religious holidays to where they coincide with one another, so it's easier for the realities to overlap without getting the affinity to drop because you don't agree on things, which can lead to religious wars and stuff like that, which it ultimately did later. But, and not really time specific on this, but really back around Plato's time and throughout history, because there were only pockets of civilization that were so far away. And then as time went on and they grew, there started to be commerce between different places. Of course, they had come up with their own religions and ideas in all these different places, but there wasn't the intolerance necessarily all the time. I'm not going to go into great detail and all that because, yeah, there were skirmishes or however you want to say it, wars, fighting, because they disagreed or for resources or whatever the reasons were. But ultimately, the big thing was trade, and people were getting rich off that. And so they wanted people from all of these different areas. I mean, China and the Silk Road, India, all the Middle East, even Northern Europe. So the thing was, they were more tolerant of all of these different ideas because they wanted to trade with these people. They didn't want to fight with them. They weren't trying to convert them necessarily. Some were probably. But the big thing was keeping the commerce going. And kind of tie in two things here. Also, you can see how, as I talked in the other videos about how when the Bible was translated so that the common man could get access to it, and things like the Gutenberg press and other communication techniques that expanded rapidly, all of these people started coming up with their own concepts of what Christianity was supposed to be and their own versions of the Bible and their own concepts and all this stuff. So suddenly going from like one major religion like Catholicism, well, there were others, of course, but that's the big one that I like to focus on because of the Catholic Church and the Inquisition, all the stuff that they tried to do to force that to be one religion. Not to say that other religions don't do that. Again, I'm not necessarily picking on anybody, but that was a big one for hundreds of years. I guess over 1,000 years. Well, it's still going today as far as that goes. But when that started happening, a funny thing happened. It was like the Enlightenment was also occurring because now also other intellectual ideas could get communicated out by, once again, the Gutenberg press, things like that. Lots of people had access to lots of different ideas and philosophies, and all of a sudden you had an explosion of of ideas, which was a good thing. It brought us out of the dark ages when you think about it. The other thing I wanted to double back to was during Christ's time. Now, that was always a confusing thing to me when I was a kid, or at least I remember it being brought up some, that something along the lines of when Jesus was roughly 17-ish, they say. I mean, again, it sure seems like it's all made up to me, but let's just go with it for a second that say Jesus left when he was a teenager and didn't come back till he was roughly 30. Well, it would have been easy for him to have traveled all over the Middle East and been exposed to Buddhism and Confucianism and all these other things that to me had a great moral code, as lots of religions do, because you got to base your fundamental thoughts in things that are real and relate to people. Not getting back into that. You can watch the other videos if you want to hear me ramble on about that. So I thought, after I heard this and started reading about Buddhism and other things, it's almost like when Jesus came back, he was taking these concepts of Buddhism, which he probably couldn't just throw on the people there, but he turned that into like relating to the Jewish beliefs in the Old Testament and trying to make this God that was just, to me, I have to quote this great Tom Waits line from a song, "Don't you know there ain't no devil, that's just God when he's drunk." I mean, the God of the Old Testament, I want nothing to do with something like that. So the whole idea is foreign to me. But it seemed like Jesus was trying to get these concepts across, and so he had to relate it to what the people believed at the time, which was the God of the Old Testament, and soften them up and try and get these moral issues out into society and hopefully change the world for the better. And in a lot of ways, Christianity did that, but in the wrong hands, it has again just, well, there are lots of cults that are built right off of that. So that was basically what I was going to get to today, was this whole concept of, when everybody is getting their own ideas out there and aren't shut down and alienated just because you don't believe the same way as somebody else, you can have great dialogue and great discoveries. Back in the Middle Ages, back in Plato's time, who knows exactly when it happened, but that was algebra. There was all sorts of math concepts and scientific discoveries, which were miraculous at the time. They were explaining things before that's the common term is called God of the gaps. If you can't explain something, oh, well, that's the way God made it. God works in mysterious ways. We're not supposed to understand because we're just mere men. We're not, that's for God to understand. That also always just kind of like seemed like a cop-out, and it is a cop-out. I mean, that's not an explanation. The simple explanation is there's a lot of things that we don't know, and you don't have to say that, oh, well, God did that. It's that way for whatever reason. So, anyway, I'm not going to get all back into that again. But the thing is, we really need to focus on being tolerant of other people and their ideas. Now, when they take those ideas and start getting radical about them and trying to force them on other people, that's where we start crossing the line. The civility is what's important to be able to get the cross-pollination, if you will, of concepts and ideas. Anyway, I guess that's pretty much it for this video. I just really wanted to focus on that when you have one God and one rule, yes, that's extremely powerful and can be used in horrendous ways, but it can also be used in good ways. But the majority of the time, unfortunately, it goes bad. So the best thing is when people are able to express their ideas and their concepts without the threat of punishment or going to hell for simply questioning or wondering or trying to figure out what's going on. Because as I went into on the others, there's, even in America, there was like, who knows how many different religions. and they all had to be tolerant of one another. Anyway, I guess I am rambling here a bit again. You know, it is high thoughts, and so I tend to do that. I somewhat apologize, but yet that's just the way it is. So I really guess I'm not apologizing for that. That's just the way I am, and I hope you can tolerate it. Thanks again for watching the video. If you'd like to go out and buy some merch, you can go out to my website, sidhigh.com. That's SIDHIGH.com. And I guess that's it for right now. So I hope you all have a groovy day, and remember, keep thinking those high thoughts, and tune in next time. Like, subscribe, do all that fun stuff if you want. That'd be great. Okay, help me pay for some of Penny's dog food. You know, we don't want her going hungry. There's no worry about that. She's all right. Anyways, I hope you all have a great day. Thanks.